All right, boys, I just want to kind of run through a thing that I definitely struggled with in the past, and I know a lot of you guys struggle with as well, is self-belief. This definitely is the main factor on why people don't achieve what they want to achieve, I think. Even going back to when I was a kid, 5 years old, I always wanted to play rugby. I always wanted to be a professional rugby player, and them self-limiting beliefs really halted my journey with rugby, and I actually think that is one of the main reasons why, we could all say excuses, but the reason why I didn't become a professional rugby player in the end, my self-belief got in my head that I'm not good enough, that the competition's going to beat us, and then I actually ended up resenting the sport itself. And now I'm obviously into the online space side of things, and I think I can apply that same lessons to this and how I actually overcame that as well. Because I get a lot of you guys in the DMs and stuff saying, look, I just don't believe I can do it, or I feel like, I'm quite introverted, and, I hear like a lot of self-limiting beliefs. So for me personally, I'm going to run through, my experience and how I actually overcame self-belief. Like, don't get us wrong, I definitely have struggled with it in the past. Obviously, like I was saying with the rugby there, but even throughout my teens and, even different social situations and, when things get tough, but there is ways to get over it. And I think the main thing is to ask yourself is, why have I got a lack of self-belief in the first place? Now, this could be from childhood trauma, it could be absolutely anything. But I also think the main thing, what it was for me, is I just kept letting myself down. And I think when you keep letting yourself down all the time, let's say, for example, you're wanting to get up at a certain time, or you wanted to hit this certain goal and you didn't hit it, so you beat yourself up and this and that. Or mainly it's just daily habits, though, letting yourself down on the daily. That's when I feel like people's self-belief just goes downhill, because they have no conviction in themselves, because they keep letting themselves down every day. It almost becomes like a self-sabotage cycle, of proving yourself right, that you're a fuck up, and that, humans love to prove themselves right, or even other people right, to the point where, let's say you set out a goal, your brain will try and sabotage it if you don't believe that you can achieve that goal. Then when you don't reach that goal, your brain will be like, yep, told you so. And then that's when you get the downward spiral, essentially, and you can kind of end up in this pit of like, I really don't like myself and I don't know if I can achieve this goal or whatnot. So step one, why have you got these limited beliefs? I know, like I was saying, for me personally, it was because I kept letting myself down on a daily, which destroyed my confidence. Now, the next step would essentially be just your thoughts control your actions, and your actions cause your results. So initially, I know for me, and I think for a lot of people, just stop fucking beating yourself up. It literally does you no service whatsoever. Every day is a fresh start, right? And all you need is one day to get yourself back in the role with everything, and to start building that self-belief. Like, self-belief isn't a thing where it's like you just suddenly have it. It's a progression. It's something that, like, when you see someone, let's say online, even though half of it's fucking fake, boys, but let's say you see someone online like Andrew Tate and you think, fuck, he has so much self-belief. Yeah, no shit. That was years of him proving himself right, going through scenarios where he thought he was going to give up. So it took him years to get to that point. And that was just stacking undeniable proof that he was what he said he was. So for you to think that you're going to get self-belief overnight, get that out of your head. But all it takes is one day to start building that momentum to get to that point. I know for me, every time I'm having doubts, and I'm like beating myself up, and I'm worried, essentially, and I'm like, even having serious doubts about, relationships or business or even the rugby, it's because I'm avoiding the work that I know I need to do. And as Chris Williamson said, I know it's cliche, but the magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding. You already know the answer. You already know how to get self-belief. It's purely in just doing the work that you're avoiding. And once you do that work, you're not going to be magically fixed. But every day, just not letting yourself down, waking up at a certain time. And look, I'm saying waking up at a certain time is just an example, but it doesn't actually have to be like, you got to wake up at fucking 5 a.m. It's just every day, when you say you're going to do something, you just do it. But when you're starting off, don't overwhelm yourself. Start off little. So yeah, it could just be waking up at 7 a.m. That's it. Right, the next day, I want to wake up at 7 a.m. and I don't want to overeat. Right, second day. Just building it up. Look, in a matter of like months, you'll look back and be like, I actually trust myself again. Like, I remember when I was living in Australia and I was going on a bit of a mad one, not going to lie. And I was going out every weekend, getting up no good, winding up, Monday, fucking ill for the rest of the week. And I was just essentially hating myself, right? Constantly letting myself down every single weekend. And if you're from the UK or whatever, you know what I mean by that, because it's just like sometimes you get in this like phase of just drinking every weekend and letting yourself down, hating your life during the week and just repeating the cycle. And for me, it went on for fucking years. My self-belief was down the fucking drain. It affected my relationships, how I thought of myself, my actions. You know, when you don't like yourself, your thoughts are, you're going to be in self-destruct mode with your actions. So you've got to actually learn to kind of like yourself again by just not letting yourself down with the little things every single day. But when you do, you know, because no one's perfect, but let's say you do let yourself down one of the days, just pick yourself back up and just remember how far you've came. It's not a fact of like, because I used to get in a bad habit of let myself down again, fuck's sake. Well, I might as well just go in a downward spiral. No. Don't do that. Remember all the times you pick yourself back up and you stuck to your word. Just remember them times and get back on the train. You think when you have a slip up with breaking one of your promises that, oh, it's game over, it's the end of the world. If you fuck up, it's completely normal. But it's how you react to the fuck up really depends on who you are. So if you're going to let it just consume your life and then you're going to beat yourself up again, then you're just going to go back to that same just self-destructive mode. So essentially, I'm rambling on a bit here, but I'd say the way to conquer self-belief is purely by just keeping little promises to yourself every single day and not letting yourself down. You will let yourself down again in the future by little things, but the way you react to that also contributes to your self-belief. This is going to take time. One thing that I've noticed as well is when you keep talking about your problems and you keep emphasizing on your problems and you know how you keep fucking up and you're letting yourself down, you're letting your family down, it does you no service either. This is purely action. What you're thinking of yourself, action. What you think to yourself, action. And then you start getting the results. And it's just a round and round circle. Once you start getting results and you start proving yourself right, it's just like you start building momentum. But I know for a lot of guys watching here, you're sort of right at the bottom. Maybe you're in a bit of a fucking rut. And I've been there myself. The way to get out of that rut with your self-belief and confidence is just little wins every single day. Stacking up that proof. And then it'll get to a point maybe 6 months down the line where you're like, oh, actually, hang on. All these little wins, I actually fucking like myself. All these things I thought I wouldn't have done and I end up actually doing. All right, well, maybe I'll go to the next level. And this is what I was referring back to Andrew Tate before. It's like, you look at people like that or, you know, even Alex Amosi and whatnot, they weren't born like that. They were just the same as you. They definitely had doubts when they first started the businesses. They definitely had times where they didn't fucking like themselves or, you know, they self-sabotage and stuff. And they might even still do it now, but it's how you react to that is what really matters. And you can't compare yourself to people online either. That's really going to fuck with your self-belief. You're in your own path. You versus you, cliche I know, but this is your journey on believing in yourself overall. There's going to be little fucking humps and stuff, but realistically, another thing is like when you are doing something new or different, of course you're going to be like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can. There is always going to be an element of like, oh, I don't know, risk. I don't know if I can do this. But when you have this undeniable stack of proof from 6 months, a year ago, let's say really bad events that you've gotten through in the past that have brought you to where you are today, when you've got that proof behind you, when you encounter these challenges in life or these risks that you're going to take, these important decisions, you trust yourself a lot more. I like to think back to times where I like to think back to really tough times in my life when I'm going through something tough. Because for me, that gives me the belief that whatever I'm going through now is nothing compared to what I've been through before. And I think the only way you can actually get to that point is by putting yourself voluntary through hard stuff. If you constantly like hide away from challenges and suffering or them awkward conversations or them important decisions you've got to make in your life, you're not building the characteristics of someone who has the self-belief, and realistically makes you not believe in yourself even more because you're not putting yourself through any adversity. Like that's the only way, is by stacking these wins and going through some voluntary suffering, challenging yourself all the time, every day. And that's not you fucking killing yourself every day, but just pushing that boundary every single day to the point where you're so sure of yourself. Life just becomes a lot easier because you're constantly voluntarily putting yourself through challenges. You don't want to be that guy when he's 40 years old in his mama's basement, hid away from the world and has a panic attack even leaving his bedroom, because the symptom of that is him never ever challenging himself and just hiding from the world. You can't hide from the suffering in the world. You're going to suffer either way. You might as well voluntarily do it for your own benefit, if you know what I mean. So, lads, I just thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown because, like I was saying before, I've struggled in the past with self-belief. And I just thought I'd hop on here and talk about my experience and how I feel like if you are in a downward spiral at the moment or you're really low on your self-belief, I hope this video helped and you can start making them little actionable steps. Don't overwhelm yourself, just little actionable steps and start stacking that proof you are who you say you are. But thoughts, actions, results. The first thing is just stop beating yourself up. One little win tomorrow. Action, result. You've got this, boys. If you have any worries, any questions, message me on Instagram. But yeah, cheers guys. Catch you soon.